Good evening. Welcome to the February 15th, 2017 Sutton Conservation Commission meeting. Project update, 7 p.m., 14 Welsh Road, Blitz. If you'd like to give us an update, please.
Okay, I brought in the form,
Form WPA Form 1, Request for Determination of Applicability.
All right, and apparently I still have to go down to the assessors and get a list of abutments and have them want to file an ad in the local paper and then send certified letters to the abutters.
Yep.
Have them notified. So I'll take care of that this week and probably be seeing you again
I'll
in 2
need it
weeks.
by tomorrow.
I'll come back in the morning.
Tomorrow, yeah.
So you'll come back tomorrow so we can get you on 2 weeks from now, which is March
Yeah.
1st, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the morning, because the newspapers usually want it like by, noontime or something like that, so it makes the...
Right, but the thing is, I need it tomorrow because I'm not up here on Friday.
Correct.
Friday is the date.
So what time do you open in the morning?
Wouldn't come before 8:30.
Okay. I'll be here at 8:30 then.
Go ahead and make a copy of this. You know what you can do, Wanda, is you can just scan that and send me a copy. Almost there.
Any comments, anybody? Anything new to report, Brandon, or is it?
On this? No, not just giving Mr. Blitz some advice as he continues to come in.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I just love coming here.
Well, you could sit up here if you'd like, you know.
I was thinking about that. So it's your turn up?
I could resign.
I'm next year.
Well, if I find out when the...
Actually, I'm this
when it
year.
is, I might consider it.
Good.
All righty, well, then I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30.
No, you're good. Have a good night. Thank you for coming in again.
Thank you, and have a pleasant rest of the meeting.
January 18th minutes.
Those were the ones that had a slight mix-up on the last one, so that was fixed the day after, so
So
they're
we're all
all set.
set.
So I
Okay.
make a motion to accept the minutes of January 18th.
Second.
All those in favor?
I make a motion to table the minutes of February 1st, because they're not finished yet.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Site visits for 68 Wilderness Drive.
We're good to go on the COC.
I didn't get, who did the second?
I did the second on both.
All right, so now we're ready now.
Wilderness Drive, we're on.
Okay, so now what we're doing with that is, did you do the site visit on Wilderness Drive?
Yes.
Okay, so the Wilderness Drive, 64 Worcester Providence, and 17 Ramsden Road are all the ones that didn't get signed at the last meeting because it was, I didn't realize you hadn't signed them. So what we're gonna do is just pass them down, one at a time, and I can pick them up at the other end. Because these are ones that were already closed at the last meeting on those three.
What about,
On Wilderness Drive, he did the site visit.
did we vote on it, though?
I don't
You
think.
need to vote on it now.
Yes.
I say
Yeah,
it's ready
right.
to go for a complete certificate.
Make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 68 Wilderness Drive.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You need to, close, that public hearing was closed at the last,
Well, if they had it on our conditions, I would think it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in 64, what happened with that was, it just didn't get signed at the last meeting. I picked up all the files.
I'm not signing it.
And what about 17 Ramshorn? Is that the same?
17 Ramsden was the same situation.
Okay.
It just didn't get signed at the last meeting, so you just need to sign those.
The order of the conditions are done.
Yeah,
Ron's gonna send them out
everything's
tomorrow.
ready to go out.
Just gonna sign it.
Now, just, you can just, you can dump the other end. Now, we have Partridge Hill Road.
What about Ramsey?
These are all the certificates. Ramson is in that list too. That needs to just be signed and passed down. For Partridge Hill Road, same situation, the certificates of compliance, that we need to sign all 8 of them. Now, there's a question on 85
That might be yours, yeah.
that,
I won't sign it then.
okay, John said that that this one was for sale, and the lawyer
Yeah.
keeps asking him for the certificate.
What's it called?
So I'm
Okay,
just
that's
wondering
what
if we
it-
can.
Ramson.
We didn't need an actual
Ramson.
candidate. I got that straightened out.
One with the shed.
That's Ramson.
I don't think an as-built was ever
I don't think so either.
required.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So, Commission, you remember there was one house where they put up a shed in the backyard, it's one of those, probably just right off the trailer kind of deals. It was never approved, and I can't quite remember what you wanted, if anything, with that.
It was an established lawn,
It
wasn't
was
it?
an established,
Mm.
approved lawn, it was good, but you put up a shed, I don't know, I forget if you had a problem with it or not.
I wouldn't have a problem with it.
If it's, don't they need a building permit if it's over 10 by 10, right? So it's probably under.
It's not.
It's not, so I
remember
don't,
seeing one when I was downstairs.
That's not our issue anyway.
No. So, yeah, I'm all set with it.
All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this whole batch here, put it up there, and as you sign them, I'll pick them up at the other end. It's all the same ones, they've all been typed out.
These are all approved, right?
These were all approved, those are the ones that they did, last year, and then he went back and checked all of the areas for the
All good, Brandon?
certificates.
All those COCs I worked on last week.
Good.
Yeah. Wanted to get them done last month, but didn't quite get to it, but here they are now, and John's not kind of behind, so.
I'm gonna get the other two, and they should be, I should get through, just use the ones that I want. I'll save it down for this one, do that 10 minutes anyway, so. This one. Got it, it's already on, because the two ones, got this one, 355, and I thought it was on them, and so I realized it's different. So, that's why I told him just come in anyways.
That's what I remember telling them
Yeah,
last time, is to file an RDA.
That's man. That's man 355.
Oh,
Well, you use another guy, we
no,
told
this
him,
is another
same
one.
thing.
Oh, all
They
right.
got mixed up with the numbers got mixed up, and it was the same. This is what was at the last one.
Alright.
Yeah, well, he filed the RDA, he's
Yeah.
just a little late, and he's,
Well,
didn't
that's-
quite do everything that he needs, but he knows what to
So
do.
it'll go on.
58 Main Street.
Oh, yeah, 58 Main Street is an extension. This is a 3-year filing. Joyce was here, Dan and Bob were here. It was Tom Finicom's filing. They're asking for an extension for another, and according to the bylaw, it's 3 years now, so we can extend it for 3 years. Here's the engineered plans, if you'd like to look at them, to see what it's all about. It's supposed to be 2 units, 2 4-units to be built on this.
The one down in Manchog, you were saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
and it was very long and involved.
Very long.
Very,
The commission,
Looks long. Would Bob like to review this?
He was tortured through it once.
This is one of the biggest ones we got up here.
I'd make a motion for a 3-year extension for, what is it,
58 Main Street.
58 Main Street.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And extension for 78 Torrey Road?
Opposed? Yeah.
all right, 78 Torrey
This is a
is also
extension.
needing an extension. Theirs is needed for like March 5th, so she, ahead of time, she asked me about it. I
Plans
said,
in
yeah,
there.
you need to send me a request.
I'm not
I
gonna
sent
sign
the
it.
request, so this
This
is
is-
for the whole
58 Main
project
Street.
itself.
Okay.
You signed a certificate of compliance, I think it was last meeting, for the driveway, and the work that has already been done.
It's been 3 years on that one already?
Yeah, I couldn't
That's
believe
what I
it either.
said.
Motion to issue an extension for 78 Torrey Road, 3 years.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. You didn't want to sign this one, Joyce?
No,
What's that one? Oh,
That was
on the,
58 Main.
Such a big file.
Project update on 171 Worcester Providence Turnpike.
Big file, I had to put it in my box.
it's, Pleasant Valley Crossings.
Is that the one Jack was emailing about?
Yes. So I just got that, today or yesterday? I got it this morning.
Jack's email, yeah, I
So
got
I
it.
emailed Pat Doherty, I said, I need an answer. Mr. Sheehan's gonna keep on asking questions, I need an answer. Haven't heard back.
Okay.
But again, it was just this morning, so
Yeah,
didn't have a lot of reaction time.
sure, understandable. Yeah. Correspondence and track sheet review.
Oops, I have to print them off. I knew there was something I forgot to do. Nothing's really changed, I just added, like, the new ones on there, 355, and I added 214. These are the new ones for this meeting. Nothing really, anything else hasn't really changed. The only thing is, tomorrow I will be adding I've made 2 sheets for Leland Hill Estates, and as I mail them out, I check them off, but John's gonna come pick those up. I told him, I'd let him know when they were ready, because that one particular one, he needs right away. The others, he says, no rush. So that'll go out tomorrow. But as far as the track sheets go, I just keep looking up to see if they've filed anything with the Worcester Land Records, and I print them out and put them in the file. Then when they're ready for their certificate,
Good to go.
and hopefully they won't wait 10 years, because that causes a
Guideline changes for the subcommittee. Oh, the subcommittee is.
Yeah, who's gonna be on that? I didn't find out. But had you decided?
Sent some materials out,
Yeah.
I believe yesterday.
Yes, I scanned through,
Yesterday,
started scanning through them.
Yeah, just scan through stuff, maybe see if help you decide whether or not you're interested.
So
I
I
didn't-
don't know if,
It's the right move.
To have a subcommittee? Yeah.
No, to have the
Guidelines.
guidelines.
Oh yeah, they're very easy to read
Yeah.
through.
I think it'll be easy for applicants to read through too.
Yeah.
because what we can do is, if you wanna move it to another meeting.
So it involves what I started on last year, which was what do you call it, the requirements for application, the checklist. And we got through to version 2, and I remember Bob having a lot of comments.
All constructive.
Oh, very, oh yeah. And then there was the examples from a couple other towns, which I like Rehoboth. It was kind of short and sweet, not like,
No fluff.
Yeah, but it gives you an idea of what you need to do, and what the policies and procedures that are expected of an applicant. And I like the idea of codifying in one place where all the policies are. And that way an applicant, especially the engineers who do the regular filings, can't say, I never knew.
Yes, they can. They won't have a problem in the world saying that.
Well, but then you can say there's no excuse.
Yeah.
You know, I think we can
Say that
also
anyway.
use the checklist for every new applicant and just go right down it at the meeting if we have to make sure that everything has been accomplished, because, you know, we skip over things a little bit at times.
Yes.
Now, a few comments on that if you want. I don't know if they're constructive or not.
Okay.
Under descriptions, should we add vernal pool in there as one of the
On the
items?
checklist?
Yeah.
All right, let me pull up the checklist then, while we're at it, okay? Checklist, second draft, okay.
No, under, you've got your descriptions of different things there,
Which step?
right there, I believe. Isn't that where you get descriptions of different things?
Step 3?
Talks about the ponds and streams, 200 foot from the rivers and streams, 200 feet from the
Great
the
ponds.
ponds and lakes and so forth. But, you know, there's no specific reference to vernal pools, and I didn't know if there should be. I'm asking the question.
There should be, yes, because
Yes.
it's considered a wetland resource area here in Sutton.
I appreciate that, but it's not spelled out as vernal pool. It's just for clarity's sake, I'm wondering if that should be added to that list.
It should, yeah,
It
I should say
should.
vernal pools if, you know, as applicable, right?
Whatever, but yeah, it
100 feet.
calls it out, okay? A little bit further down, you talk about 2 copies of the plans, and I wonder if it would be appropriate to insert in there,
I have three,
excuse me,
copies.
3 copies, all right? Would it be possible to insert in there and/or including in the electronic filing? I know you mentioned it towards the
I
bottom.
think electronic filing is a good idea.
You do mention it towards the bottom, but I'd like to see it,
Up in site plan requirements?
yes, not the requirement, but if possible. I mean, most of these engineers all have got the capability of doing it, so let's do it, and that way you can disseminate the information to the board members easier that way, so they have a chance to look at it prior to the meeting.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I need copies in here
We're
because.
still gonna have paper
still,
copies, but as they say, also, if we
So you
put
can
there
look
just
at
an
it.
electronic file, and as they say, it'd be easy to disseminate to the board members then.
Yeah. And
for the
when the
review.
engineers come in, I do ask them, I say, could you please send the electronic copy to Brandon so he can get it? Because if I mail it to him, it goes to Boston, then it comes back, and he might get it before the meeting.
Yeah, this is just
So
adding it in,
that
it's
doesn't
just,
help.
Just another layer.
it's just adding it into it, so you don't have to remember to tell them all the time, that's all.
Yeah. and- So do we want to like look at this for the next meeting and vote on it, or?
Well,
do
this
you wanna
is a
wait little
subcommittee
bit?
that's gonna be doing this.
Yeah.
I just was gonna take the extra 5 minutes and give you my thoughts and whether they incorporate them or not.
Do you wanna be on the subcommittee?
No, I
You
just
can
wanna keep
continue
it,
doing
I
this.
just wanna give you my thoughts right now, quickly, all right?
Okay, all right, I'm with you, I'm ready.
Quickly or not, you're gonna get his thoughts right now.
You better type fast.
You know, you talk about on the plan, it has to show all trees over 5 inches. But I'd also like to have the clearing limits defined on the plans, the original clearing limits and the proposed clearing limits.
Well, existing wood line and proposed clearing limits, right?
Correct. In addition to your 5-inch trees, just,
Okay.
now, a biggie is I would like to see, for all of our benefit, arrows indicating direction of water flow on the drawings.
Okay, that's good. It's very good.
All right, just that way we can see where the water's flowing, if it's flowing into a wetlands or an uplands or whatever, but I mean, it helps interpret the drawings if we got, and the engineer's fully capable of putting that on his drawing.
Right.
Uh,
Well, I suppose in one way, you could just look at the topography, but if you have water flow, I guess it would make it easier to read, right?
Correct.
to the person who's not that familiar with
Correct.
homelands.
And the last thing I've got is down at the very bottom of your last page, as a reminder,
Yeah,
something to the effect that all erosion control must be maintained until the work is completed, and removal can only be done after requesting it from the board. Or however you want to phrase that, but I mean, they got to get permission to remove it. Until such time as they get permission to remove it, it's got to be maintained.
Is there on there somewhere what we require for erosion control, seeing we're having this continuing
I don't
problem?
think that's something that needs to be on the checklist, because this is just for
Filing?
filing, and then it's the order of conditions in the site plan that should specify
Okay.
what form of erosion sediment control is issued.
This is just on a reminder that, again, that they have to maintain the erosion control until such time as the commission tells them it can be removed, or the project's complete, which is one and the same.
Can we table this discussion for a minute so we can go to 7:20 for Mr. Romeo?
I'm done
You
anyhow.
guys can do whatever you want, I'm having a great time.
Well, we had to wait till 7:20 and now he's been here, so.
It's so bad. It's a lot worse than things than this.
The Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, February 15th, 2017 at 7:20 PM at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Oxford Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a notice of intent submitted to the Conservation Commission by Anthony Romeo, Sutton, Mass. The project consists of replanting of 20 trees native species to the area for the replacement of several trees removed on map 35, parcels 134 on 355 West Sutton Road, Sutton, Mass. Welcome back.
I'll start. Can you come back in 2 weeks?
Okay.
The reason why is because I wasn't able to get out there before the snow started last week.
Yeah.
And in this case, I would appreciate
I went
it.
back to work too, so I've been super busy.
Yeah, I would appreciate it if you allowed us to continue so I can go out there in minimal snow conditions. Because it's a big blanket and I would like to see it
Yeah,
without the snow cover.
I don't blame you.
For discussion, how far away from the actual wetland or into the buffer zone has he been working? Do you know that?
I don't, that's one of the reasons why I'd like the snow to melt, because it will help me determine more accurately where the wetland
Yeah.
actually is and if he actually went into the wetland or not. And I'm not doing any field work right now.
Yeah.
Anywhere, because too much snow. You get and this looks like from the weather reports, it's gonna melt off in the next week or two, but gotta wait a little bit longer.
It would be in your benefit to continue for Brandon to go out there too.
Yeah.
We don't want to make you keep coming back.
No, I don't mind. I've come back 10 times. It don't matter. This is fun. In a weird way, this is fun to me. When I was little, my grandfather used to always take me to all the functions, down at City Hall and stuff like that in a weird way. So, like, this just brings back me viewing my grandfather's sentiment rooms. And he used to be the guy that used to be arguing with everybody. Always just sitting here, it's nice. Bring it back.
Okay, your next conservation member.
No,
No, he likes to argue.
I got the restoration of 2 deckers in Worcester. That's
This
that's
first.
right now.
Wanted to has he been made aware of the fees?
I think that's the one we need the 300
Yeah, you sent me a message and you
for.
said for
Yeah.
300 today, so.
Yeah, so you could, maybe put that into the file.
You might want to give him a receipt for that too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I can't do it
What
right
time
now.
are we gonna continue it to?
I can mail you the receipt,
Okay, that's fine.
you know. Okay, so the next meeting is March 1st, and the time I have available is 8:05 PM.
Make a motion to continue to March 1st, 8:05.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Free to go?
Sure, I can just hang out back there.
You can do whatever you want. It's a
Taking
public
the
meeting.
ambiance, Thanks a lot, you guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks. First,
All right.
8:05.
Have a good night.
See you
I'll
then.
send you the agenda.
I did that
also.
once at the beginning of my career, and I went to a conservation meeting just to see what it was like and what to expect when I was the guy doing the talking. And I sat in the back the entire time, and eventually, the chairman, as everybody started to, he started to clear out, he saw me in the back, he says, "And what in blank are you here for?" I was like, I'm just listening and learning. He looked at me like I had to be doing what?
You still got in this business.
Well, I came to a meeting before I came too, so that was an
Okay,
interesting
this
one.
has
I had been to several.
continued. It needs to be read in.
It does need to be read in.
Well, you can, it's a continuation, so you can waive the hearing, but it needs to be continued, so.
We can't do it till 7:35.
Oh, we can't, you're right. Okay, would we want to go back on to the discussion of the guideline change?
Yes.
Since we have,
We might get this all done.
I know.
what I was thinking.
I'm done. That's all the comments I had.
Yeah, 'cause we don't just-
I read through the two that you offered up as samples.
Yeah, it was Rehoboth and Westport were a couple.
Yeah, I think ours covers as much as it does for the most part. I mean, each got a little peculiarity, Westport in particular because of its location.
Yeah, they have a lot of coastal stuff.
And also, in some cases, the earth removal board was part of the conservation and the subcommittees and stuff like that, which don't apply. But I mean, as a checklist goes, I didn't, reading through that, I didn't jump all over something that's, we should have in ours. I thought that it was.
So if we just pretty much codify everything we have, it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, and I like the fact that ours is in a page and a half. In Westport, I don't know, it's 20 pages or something. And,
Well, they had articles of incorporation
Yeah,
and all that stuff.
unnecessary things.
I don't know if that's
Less is more,
necessary.
right?
Like less, I agree, less is more. And Rehoboth, I think, is closer to, I think, what this commission is looking for. Short and sweet, you don't get lost in it,
Do we still need a subcommittee, or are we?
I would appreciate a couple people to bounce ideas off of and help where needed.
You
I'll
want-
deal with that.
You want to deal with it, Jim?
I'll be part of it,
Okay.
Anybody else?
Well, you probably should because you're the chairperson, but
Happy to
I
help,
will
yeah.
if you don't want to.
How many can you have? You can't have three,
No,
right?
you can't have three.
I'm fine with doing it.
Right, and as we go make progress at the meetings, I can do a show and tell and see what everybody thinks. And if we need to keep on going, we'll keep on going with the subcommittee. All right, so go ahead and take a vote on it. I think you should do that.
Make a motion to
Form a
form a
subcommittee
subcommittee
consisting of,
consisting of Dan,
and Bill,
Bill,
forget my name.
for, should I say what it's for?
Guideline changes.
For the guideline changes.
Second.
Good.
All those in favor?
I guess.
Aye.
I look forward to working with you.
Okay, so it's
when's the
gonna be-
first meeting gonna be? I can tell you where it'll be.
It's gonna be online.
It'll be online.
Yeah, as I send stuff to you and you send comments back. Unless you want to have.
So we're gonna have the first meeting in front of the fireplace as we were cooking the roast.
Well, now you change my mind.
Probably at my sister's house.
That actually sounds pretty good.
That would be nice.
Okay, well,
Well,
work
and
on it.
spouses of the members of the subcommittee are invited.
Gee, I wish I was on the subcommittee.
Hey,
Not that I have a spouse, but
Does your sister know this yet?
she will. I could do it at my place, but the candle lights at Merriam's in the old house makes it much nicer.
you got quill and feathers too to write with.
No,
No computer.
no, we have computers, we have electricity there.
Right, so now we have to kill 4 minutes. And that's continued too.
What can we talk about?
Yeah, unfortunately.
All the board business is done?
Well,
This is done.
I'm on the Historical Society and I got a bunch of old bulletins that I was reading through. So there's an interesting one here on Cold Spring Brook and all the mills, and there's maps and stuff, so I had asked Brandon if he would like copies, because it would give the background of the cellar holes and the things on Cold Spring Brook. And so there's one on Manchog on the mills, and there's one on Singletary Brook, Marble Village. So I figured if he would like them, that I would make copies and give them to him, because it shows some of the history of things you might see in the woods with cellar holes and dams and,
Yeah, I would like them copies, because it gives some historical context, which helps me do my job better.
You know, jumping to a brand new subject. Didn't I read something recently about the state doing something with the hatcheries down here, and there's a time frame
Yeah.
here and everything
They're
else?
going to contact the town clerk because that's not something I can set up. The rooms are set up by the town clerk's office, so I have no idea who meets during the day. They're gonna have some kind of day meetings. That's what I contacted, it was Dan Butcher, Bill Davis too. And I told him to contact Laura, and they're gonna work with the town clerk's office to find out what day they can come in to do that. And hopefully they'll let me know, and I can let everybody know.
To do
If they want to
what?
come in, to have a meeting about that, the Merrill Pond system. with the
before
dams
they
and
file
stuff.
an NOI.
I think so, because I think they've got one more dam to do.
Mm.
They've got one done.
Well,
but
I've
they
got
have-
2 done.
Yeah, the one on Town Farm Road they have done. So, and unfortunately, if anybody has any emails on 280 West Sutton Road, I was trying to collate the 2 email things that I had in the archives and lost all of them. So they're in the server somewhere, but if you have any, if you could send me a couple of them or whatever.
Which
No,
one is that?
It's 280 West Sutton Road would be the ones that I need.
Who's the owner of that?
Well, it would be the Wildlife and Fisheries.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
I
what,
know
well,
I
just
sent-
see if we search by title or
I probably
something.
sent you a couple here and there on those, but unfortunately, when I tried to archive those 2 and put them together, they both kind of disappeared on me, and I think they got deleted into the server. So, hopefully, when I see the tech around someplace, I'm gonna ask him if he can slide them out of there, if he can get them out, and just get them back to me, because, I mean, it's information of who it is and where it is and all the different things on there. And I know I sent them to Brandon, but like he said, he doesn't keep everything forever either. I only keep them till certificates. And then I
280 is,
send them back out.
Town Farm Pond Dam.
Oh, that one.
The one on the top of the hill, yeah.
Okay, yeah, 'cause the other one was
You go down the farm field.
187.
Hmm?
Was the other one 187? I think it was 187.
Oh, over at
Yeah, that was the one near, the school.
Adams Pond,
Yeah,
that's one down here.
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I think that's the 187 one. So it was the 280 one that got, somehow I ended up with 2 files and tried to put them together. The computer doesn't like it.
735.
No,
Go ahead.
unless we're gonna go to 7:35. I'd just like to come back again, what is the procedure on this?
Well, once
What's gonna
they-
happen?
Uh-huh.
Who's gonna say in it?
They're gonna file an
I'm interested
NOI.
just as much to you, Brenda, as I ever wanted.
Well,
Just,
if and when they come in to, give notices of intent to take out whatever dams, procedure is just like any other notice of intent. They're required to notify all butters within 300 feet of the property.
Do they have to justify the removal of the dams first to anybody, or is that just,
I think it's coming through the dam safety office.
they say, do they have to justify the removal of dams to anybody?
Yeah, especially the Conservation Commission.
Okay, so does that, should that be done first before they go ahead and make the plans to demolish the dams?
No.
No,
Or spend all the money on the engineering to
that's.
do one or the other?
That's their prerogative. They could have come in for pre-application screening and kind of test the air, so to speak. But they didn't do it.
Could we ask?
They
Them
did meet with me back in October and brought me to a couple of locations to give me an idea. And I remember that very night, I briefed the commission about what their plans were.
And Bill Davis-
That's when I remember that Bob had concerns, some big concerns about it, and recreational value in the ponds, and the same question you just asked now, which is who will be notified, and is it just the abutters, is it the entire town? So they're gonna create plans at their own risk. They're gonna present them to the Conservation Commission. They're required to directly notify through certified mail, return receipt, all butters within 300 feet of whatever properties they plan on working on, and put a legal notice in the newspaper, which is the way of notifying the entire town, not that anybody actually reads a newspaper anymore, but that's the way it's done.
Can't read the fine print in legal notices, but other than that.
Yeah.
Bill Davis came with a bunch of people for the Historical Society in Medicine. Bob and I were both there, and they explained what they were gonna do. And they want to put a big pipe diagonally under the gas line by Hutchinson Road.
Okay,
And because if they let the water down on the little pond on the other side of Hutchinson Road, wouldn't take all the water, and I guess the gas line is concerned, so they want to put a diagonal pipe into that other pond on the west side of West Sutton Road,
Welsh
yeah.
Pond.
And the
I think
Hutchinson Road is getting undermined, so they may have to close it at that end.
Well, hold on.
So they check it every day.
Some little pictures here.
There's a sinkhole.
16.
That is a drop on both. Real big drop.
Mm.
So when do we think this is coming to life, Wanda? You haven't heard anything?
They said it could be years.
No,
Okay.
they just, said they wanted to have this meeting through my office, and I said, no, it can't go through my office. It has to go through downstairs, because I don't take control of what these rooms are rented out as. Like when we have the meetings and stuff, we all go through the town clerk's office.
So if you hear anything, if you could try to keep us all.
I would send you emails, because
Yeah.
I sent that one as soon as I got it from him.
The justification for draining that big an area has got to be real interesting.
It isn't, they're not draining it.
Yes, they are.
They still got the two dams there.
The pond adjacent, whatever the name of the pond is.
Schoolhouse.
Schoolhouse
Yeah.
Pond is going to be drained.
The one right there?
Yeah.
Unless the beavers dam it up.
And then they're gonna hire somebody to come out and kill the beavers, pull the dam out, because they're not gonna leave the beaver dam there. If they leave the beaver dam, then it's the same thing as having a dam. And, the whole thing is bogus.
Well, historically, it was never there to begin with, so,
Yeah, but it's been there since the.
1920s.
Since
Weren't
the
those the
regulations went into
cranberry bogs?
effect.
Yep.
They were cranberry bogs before, yeah.
I find this all very, very intriguing.
So
This is-
does that mean then that, if there wasn't a swamp behind my house, I could fill it in? Because it wasn't there originally? There's something there, and what's of more value? A stream going through a meadow or a pond that's there? I don't understand the whole complex of the thing, and I think it's being done for the expediency of the town and not, or for the state, and not necessarily for the betterment of the environment. Now, if somebody can make a good argument on why eliminating that pond is the best thing for the environment that's been there since 1920 or whatever date it was there, that's fine. But let's present the argument and make it factual.
I've already briefed Bill Davis and Dan Buttrick that they need to make a good argument. But that's not the only argument I'm sure they're gonna make, because they're probably going, they might talk about a public safety
Mhm.
portion of it.
Can I ask you a question, man?
The recreation is very important, because recreation is one of the public interests of the bylaw, so.
There's more recreation out of a pond than there is gonna be out of a marsh.
Well, there's biodiversity in marsh, and that's,
We're talking about recreation now.
Right, so that's part
I'm
of.
talking
that's
about
part-
biodiversity,
So
so-
these are the hard.
You two can argue somewhere else.
Well, these are
got
the
10 minutes to go.
difficult issues
It's
that
entertaining.
this volunteer board is gonna have to decide on one day, so prepare yourselves. This issue is very interesting, and this is not the only time this has ever happened, taking down a dam for whatever reason when there was a pond. There's a lot of sentimentality about the old mill ponds, for example, and, always went there, fished for bass with my dad, kind of thing, and I don't want to see it go. There's a lot of sentimentality. Sometimes these old dams are associated with mills, which is part of the pride of a mill town, and suddenly it's going to be gone. So it's not just the wildlife, it's not just the recreation, it's the sentimental value associated with it anyway. And it would be such a big change that it's difficult for people to want to do.
and I'm sure in 1920, when they made the ponds, it was the same argument, that it was being changed.
Except
Yeah.
the
People had land
Conservation,
rights back then.
Conservation Commission wasn't formed back then, so they didn't have a say.
Well, the
It was not
commission
town
is gonna
bylaws
do-
and policies.
What it always does, it's going to always go back to the public interests, all the public interests, including recreation, and they're gonna have to make arguments on the pros and cons of all of them. And the commission will weigh them all, all of the, and decide whether or not, in the end, what they're proposing is going to cause adverse impact to whatever the public interest.
I don't think they're prepared to have that discussion. I think they're coming in here and saying that it's a public safety issue, that we're eliminating that dam.
Which trumps everything.
It does trump
That's
everything,
what they're
yeah.
claiming, yeah.
Yep.
But also think about the change from a pond to a marsh, a lot like what the commission's been doing, for example, in the AWRA, for example, along Manshog Road. It's not so much destruction of habitat, but conversion from one type to another. So when they created the view corridors, it was more or less a conversion from one habitat type to the other. It was neither good nor bad, it's just
Different.
different.
Well, upland habitat is, in that case, the argument would follow that we should be allowed to fill any swamp that they want to fill, because you're just changing it from a wetland habitat to an upland habitat.
It's not gonna be changed, even if the
context
stream
is
goes through.
different With
Yeah.
that argument, though.
Not much.
Yeah,
This is gonna be very fun.
But to Bob's point, they might come in and think they come in here for one meeting and it's a safety issue, and is it too late for us to have any say at that point?
it is a public meeting and people will come in
If
and,
it's a
you know.
safety issue, they're gonna have to provide enough data to make the Conservation Commission scared enough
No,
to let them have what they want.
can I ask a question
Mhm.
based on everything? No, that control water structure that's there now, all right? Does that not also form part of a flood control series to protect the downstream portions of it? So if they put a culvert in there large enough to accommodate 100 or 200-year storm, which they were talking about,
Mhm.
so that means that there's no flood control to protect Lake Singletary and the residents of Lake Singletary and the streams and everything else all the way down.
All the way down the Blackstone River, and they're gonna have to
So
definitely.
you're
yeah.
eliminating that whole big chunk of flood control there, never mind the pond, you're eliminating that. You're putting much more stress on the next one down.
They're gonna take that one up.
Well, they say they're not, but on the one hand, but they say that they have to redo the outlet structure and everything else on that, and the pond's gonna be a fraction of what it is today.
Because it's higher than what it historically had been.
That's where the commission may want a third-party peer review engineer to weigh in.
And now we have no money for it.
No, you can do that through 53G and make them pay for it. If it's going through planning board, which I don't know if this one would, but if it does, and they have Graves Engineering do it, I can coordinate with Graves, and it's mostly Jeff,
No.
Walsh.
Jeff Walsh over there, which I have a very good relationship with. I can ask him to do whatever as part of the conservation review as well, but if it's not done in another board, Conservation Commission can enact that requirement at any time you want.
I'd like to have a good explanation, that's all. That's my feeling, obviously, the rest of the board dictates what we say and what we do, but,
Yeah, but we're gonna have you make the motions on that one, Bob.
735, 28 Wheelock Road.
Make a motion to waive the reading of 28 Wheelock Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to continue to March 1st at 7:35.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Over 3 minutes.
Can I ask a question with regard
Many
to?
as you'd like.
All right. Is there weed abatement on Schoolhouse Pond right now? Do they do any?
Yes, they did some work on getting rid of Phragmites.
that was on the pond across, that was the one they already drained, they did that. They have not done any weed abatement on the pond that they're talking about draining, to my knowledge. Correct?
I don't think it was
Fast
in the
I know.
queue.
That's correct, I don't think they have many.
We can't talk about it for another 2 minutes.
Does that answer your question, or?
Yeah, I was just curious. We in a former life, I worked up in northern Massachusetts, and a lot of our work was bridge and dam safety, and it seemed to be a state thing to get rid of a lot of the dams, especially the lower, volume dams, lower height dams, with a couple feet of ponding. I frankly, I like the old ponds, but at the same time, I understand the flood issues that we have with dams. Having lived in California, I have friends in Chico who've been evacuated because of the Orville Dam situation, and we were, it was the stories that I heard as a floodplain manager from the people in the 50s when the LA dam broke and the LA River flooded, and there was hundreds of homes destroyed and hundreds of people. It's just awesome.
But if you go by that dam down there, if you want to call it a dam, it's a culvert across the road with some boards on the end of it.
Yeah.
It's a dam, okay? The volume of water that's on the uphill side, if it's 4.5 feet deep at the deepest point, it's a lot. So, if that wiped out completely, it would inundate the swamp that's on the other side, and that's the end of the problem.
Yeah.
So, the bigger problem, I think, is that by putting a huge culvert in there and letting the stream go straight down through, then you're not affording yourself any flood protection or against the storm that would normally back up and be metered downstream. You're just adding more pressure down, which is not a good thing.
Nope, I agree with you.
And if you turn around and tell me, well, we're gonna size the culvert there, going across the road, the new culvert, so that it does, well, in that case, you still got a dam there because you're backing water up at some point.
Exactly.
All you gotta do is back the water up once, it's a dam.
That's the same methodology we use every day for our outlet control structures.
Exactly.
Small orifice to release, the storm event. I design it based on trying to make the lower storms match, and then the 100-year event,
Yeah.
the 50-year event, I'm well under.
But
So,
to do that, you have to, that embankment has to be designed to construct it as a dam.
Yep,
So it's a dam either way.
yep.
Unless you put a big pipe in there, let the water just flow straight through, no obstruction at all, which just puts more pressure downstream, then it's gonna be a dam there anyhow.
We'll see what they say when they get here.
Yeah.
750.
All right, chairperson, you.
Oh, boy.
Make a motion to waive the reading.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, 159 Dodge Hill Road.
You don't need to.
Appreciate that. the record, my name is JP Conley. I work for Andrews Survey and Engineering, and I'm here representing Stockwell Farm LLC. The applicant has submitted an ANRAD for a good portion of the site. Flags have been walked, and I think we've agreed at the last meeting that the flag locations shown on this plan are accurate. So we're waiting for a DEP file number.
Which you now have.
We checked that out today, about 40 minutes before I came.
So we're all set, right?
Almost,
What's that?
almost.
Money, that's the money
Oh,
side.
yeah,
with
the
the
consultant
consultant
fee,
So to give some background, if you use the consultant fee schedule, with the linear footage, the fee came up really, really high. So I gave, what I did is ended up giving you an actual quote for the amount of time spent out there. But I don't know if the money's been deposited in the conservation account yet.
I don't know that to be, whether that's been done yet. We know that was an issue that was brought up earlier in the week. I believe the client's aware of it. Still like to close the hearing tonight and basically not issue a decision until that.
It's fine with me.
So essentially the
I
board
can
would.
make a comment.
You're a citizen.
Is
You gotta state your name.
Bill
And
Letts,
address?
154 Dodge Hill Road. Is my understanding that that was already covered by Andrews, but if it's not, there will be a check cut out for that first thing tomorrow. That it was already part of all the fees paid to Andrews Survey. But,
Okay.
so that's what the impression we were under, is that it's already been paid for and that Andrews was cutting the payment. But if that is not the case, then you shall receive a payment.
As long as I get
Not
mine.
my checkbook.
No, I understand.
We take cash.
Honestly, I'm not really intimate with the project.
So
and the
if we
the
could just
contract.
follow up on that, just for
Certainly,
the,
I'll-
for the record, we don't want to delay anything by any means.
I'll make note of that and have the CFO look into the contract and what was paid and
Yeah.
what was not.
And if I misspoke, but if either way, somehow someone's gonna get paid.
Much appreciated.
That said, we good to go?
Good for a vote.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to issue, what do we need for this?
it's an ORAD.
I didn't ask what it was, I asked what we needed to do.
That's what it would be.
This
Yeah.
negative determination, is this a,
No.
Issue an order of resource area delineation.
there, I'd like to issue an order of resource delineation.
Area
That's-
delineation. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You good?
Thank you.
I couldn't remember what
If
ORAD.
you talk to Paul on that, or I'll reach out to my.
It will probably be, it'll be Jan who will have better understanding and control of that, but I'll definitely,
Yeah, because we, whatever it is, needs to be
Sign
taken care
this?
of.
no problem.
Thank-
I'll follow up and make sure Paul knows that too.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Things to sign, Wanda?
Thank you.
The
Yep.
last one is the
Right,
block.
Yeah.
on
Pretty nice.
No, it is. I came with 146 and there are a couple cars. Oh, some just these puddles.
So we just collect all the stuff we got here.
Is there anything else to sign on this one?
Which one is that?
So we
The one we
just
just did.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Good night.
That part.
Good night.
Drawing.
That needs to be signed. Where is it? Take this. Here's the signature page. I just didn't put a thing on it. Oh, here's the signature page. Next one. I'll continue that too.
Eight o'clock, right?
Yeah, we can continue it.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Thank God you're here.
I think we've got everything we need,
One more.
just this
That's being
last one.
continued.
Yeah, and then done before 8 o'clock.
Bill and Lauren have done a very good job.
Signed. However, the next meeting. we have, one new one and a bunch of continuations from this meeting. So, actually, you've got, the other new one will be Welsh Road. Yeah, so we got two new ones on the next meeting. Okay, we've got, I'm trying to remember, Glenn Kowalski said they needed to continue this last one because of stuff they're working on the dam. Not the dam, I think it was the building or something they're waiting for.
That's the copper dam.
Or something.
Yeah, Jeff Walsh wanted more data, soils and water table data
Oh,
on
that's
the
what it
area
was.
they're gonna have their water quality, water detention pond.
Oh, okay.
So they have to
I knew
do
it
some
was
test
on.
holes. Want to make sure they have adequate separation between the bottom of the detention basin and the water table. Maybe a few other engineering things, so just waiting on that.
Back to the West Sutton Road thing. If they do in fact want to drain the swamp, what do we tell the next guy that comes down the road that wants to drain the swamp?
They have to do the same kind of rigorous analysis that was done in this one, that the commission felt comfortable with. And I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of analysis.
They said it could be years before they actually, come in with something.
They're
still doing the studies.
What they would do is they would go through every one of the public interests shown in the state and the bylaw, and go through each one thoroughly, state their case as to why there will not be adverse impact on any of those public interests. And once they've done that adequately, commission will debate, and a decision will be made.
And the replication and mediation?
In this
Well-
case, there wouldn't be any replication, it would just be change in habitat type. That's what it would be. It would go from being a pond to a marsh with a stream through the middle of it.
When you lower the water level, that's what happens?
Yeah, yeah, well, that's a good question too. They
Buffer
would,
zone changes.
not necessarily.
They expected to make a channel
The-
through there.
The bank would change from the bank of the pond to the bank of the stream that
Stream,
goes through
yeah.
the middle of it.
Yeah,
So they're gonna have to, they're gonna have to do analysis on the public interest that the bank is significant to. All right, so there's different resource areas involved. Right now, there's bank, there's BVW, there's land underwater, there's bordering land subject to flooding, which is the 100-year floodplain. No, there's no riverfront area here. So you get at least those four. So those four are presumed significant to certain public interests. And they're gonna have to do an in-depth analysis of why what they're doing is not going to create adverse impact to those public interests, in relationship to those wetland resource areas, and justify it, so the commission's satisfied with it. If you're not satisfied with it, you can either deny it, or you can condition it the way you want. And if you don't like it, you can do it similarly to what was done at the Manchog Pond Dam, where Interface Global just wanted to remove all the slats and let Manchog Pond dry up. And what happened at that time is that it wasn't an outright denial, but they conditioned it, the commission just conditioned it, that they were required to maintain the slats in such a way that they maintain the existing pond levels. And of course, Interface Global didn't like it, it got appealed, and eventually, the town won, and the town took over the dam. So something similar to that, I don't know, I don't think the town would be taking over these dams, but you could definitely condition it in a way that they have to maintain it as is. That's an option. Or something in between, who knows what they're gonna come up with. A little too early to talk, but spitballing.
Make a motion to waive the reading of 214 Worcester Providence Turnpike.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And
Make
that
a-
will be continued
Yeah,
to-
make a motion to continue to March 1st at 7:20.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
My mistake, there will be riverfront area. Because, for example, see that blue line?
Stream will be in
It's
riverfront
considered
area.
perennial stream right there.
Yep.
So the stream isn't in the pond itself, but it comes to the outlet, which means there's 200-foot radius that goes around in a semicircle like this. So there's gonna be a 200-foot riverfront area at this edge of the pond, and they're gonna have to meet all the performance standards for riverfront area and justify it that way as well. So it's another analysis they're gonna have.
So they got a lot of work.
They've got a lot of work. But Ty and Bond, this is the kind of work they do. They are involved with a lot of dam removal projects that are, believe it or not, partially, I don't know if the design work is funded, but the tear down is at least partially funded by the Department of Environmental Restoration at DEP. And they have a lot of money for dam removal, and they call it stream continuity projects. Especially along the coast where there's anadromous fish going upstream to
Using
lay
big
eggs and
words
spawn.
now, Brandon, big
Yep.
words.
Anadromous fish go from freshwater to saltwater, back, but
They adult in salt water, but then they come up the streams to lay their eggs, like shad, striped bass,
herring.
herring, alewives, yeah.
On the 214, you need to read that into the record. It's a new filing.
Oh, we can't waive
They
it.
were in,
Yeah.
214.
you can, they
Yeah.
were in last, on the first.
Yes,
The
Yeah.
chiropractors, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
so you just wait the
Oh,
reading.
okay.
We already did.
Okay.
But it's not new. That's actually was continued.
I
Yeah.
thought it was new. I have it written down. Okay. Okay, we don't have anything else that I know of that we need to do.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Joyce, you're gonna love this.